Hi, Bold for Christ YouTube channel here. I wanted to do a video update on an arrest that took place, and I have the video on my channel. It took place in the year 2020, and up until recently, I have not ever gone to court for it. So I was on my way out of the country when this arrest took place, and leaving forever, and I wasn't going to stick around for a month and watch my life savings dwindle away waiting for a court date. So I was gone. I wasn't waiting around. After my wife left me, of course I had to come back to find my children, because she took my children from me, as so many women are doing nowadays to their husbands. And so I never wanted to come back, other than maybe work or something in Texas, and then live in Mexico, go back and forth. That was my ultimate plan. I think it was a great plan. It would have worked really well. I haven't given up on it. I'm still probably going to do that, but first I have to touch base with my little children that my wife took from me. So once I accomplish that, then I can pick back up on my prior plans to do that. So anyways, in 2020, got arrested, driving without a license. Now, I've been preaching for many years now how to defeat the legal system, because the legal system is not law. Legislation is not law. Law is something that's absolute and perfect every single time. We've heard it our whole lives. Life isn't fair, right? But that's not true. Life is fair. It's 100% fair. The problem is, most people aren't following and observing life. They're observing something other than this made-up system that we substitute for life, or substitute for law. But law is fair. It's 100% fair every single time. Law, by definition, doesn't change. It's perfect. It's absolute. So if I do something wrong and somebody else does something wrong, if the punishments are not equal, then that's not law. It can't be law. It's impossible, because law is fair 100% of the time. And I think we can all agree the legal system is anything but fair. I mean, you have one guy that kills somebody and gets off with a slap on the wrist, and somebody else kills somebody and spends 2-3 life sentences in prison, and maybe gets a death penalty. Why is that? Well, because the one guy had money. He was able to pay an attorney. And the legal system, all they really care about is that you're putting something into it. If you're paying an attorney a lot of money, or you're paying a bail bondsman a lot of money, or you're paying a lot of money with your time in a prison, because they're making money on you in prisons, that's all they care. You're putting something into the system. They don't care where it's going, who it's going to. Their system consists of police, judges, politicians, lawyers, bail bondsmen, things like this. As long as you're putting money into the system, they don't care. The judge sees you walk into a courtroom with a high-powered, high-dollar attorney, that drove a Lamborghini to the courthouse that day. He knows you're paying 30 to 100 grand for your attorney. So he's happy you paid into the system. So now he can deduct that from your sentence, right? Well, that's not law. That is not law. By any definition, that's not law. And I'm so tired of hearing people say, these things are the law, and to drive without a license is against the law. No, it's not. It's against this politician made-up thing called legislation. I don't want to get into where legislation comes from, but it's not something that we brilliant men invented on our own, okay? So, with that said, I had an opportunity recently to put the things that I preach into practice. So I was finally picked up on that arrest from 2020, and all these people for years have been laughing at me. Oh, yeah, let's see you beat this now. Yeah, you're not going to beat this. Well, I beat it. Was it easy? No. Was it fun? No. Did it still cost me? Yes, it cost me dearly. It did. But it didn't cost me money. I never paid a penny to anyone. All the charges were dismissed or dropped. The tickets are done away with. So in the sense that, I don't have any charges, it didn't cost me any money, I don't have a record looming over my head, I beat the system. What did it cost me? It cost me time. It cost me 8 months in jail. Why did it cost me 8 months in jail? Because I refused to plead guilty. I refused to give anybody the satisfaction of me pleading guilty. But I employed the strategy I've been teaching everyone to employ. That is understanding the difference between a person and a man. When I entered that courtroom, I entered as a man, a flesh and blood man, not as a person, not as an entity, not as a corporate name. And they hated me for it. Who hated me the most between the state attorney, the judge, and the public defender? The public defender hated me the most. Now, the public defender didn't represent me. I had refused this public defender on multiple occasions to their face, to the judge, and it didn't matter because at first appearance, I was appointed, not me, the entity named with the same name as me was appointed this public defender, right? And because this entity was appointed this public defender did things to hurt my flesh and blood body being in jail. So one of the first things this public defender did to hurt me was waive my right to a quick and speedy trial. So I would have only spent maybe at the most 3 months in jail had my right to a quick and speedy trial not been waived. But this public defender did this. I requested this public defender to file a motion to reinstate my rights to a quick and speedy trial, to no avail. They would not do it for me. And had they done it, the state would have basically had to throw the charges out 5 months earlier because they wouldn't have been able to prosecute me. But because the public defender did this as a favor to the state, because public defenders, the DA, and the judges all get paid by the state. We have to remember they're all on the same team, right? And they work together day in and day out. So if the state comes to the public defender and says, hey, I don't have all my stuff together yet, we're not ready to prosecute, we're not ready to take this to trial, can you buy us some time? Public defender's like, yeah, no problem, this is just a piece of crap citizen. I'll waive the right to a speedy trial and you can take all the time you want. And then the longer they're in there, they'll get more desperate and we'll probably get a guilty plea out of them, right? But I was not going to do a guilty plea. I wasn't going to, because that would be basically the same thing as bowing down to a statute of bail. Because state and statute are very similar words. In fact, that's where state comes from, statute. And when you're bound, you might as well be bound down to a statute if you're bound down to the state. If you're raising your hand as an oath, that's a salute. That's the Baphomet right there. You know how they do the 3 fingers? It's the same thing. You're saluting bail. All this stuff has spiritual connotations to it, and I wasn't willing to do it. I'd rather lose a few months of my life than lose my soul forever. And with the things that I know, I'm not ignorant, right? So I have a lot of understanding and a lot of wisdom that's come from the Creator on this, and I'm just not willing to give in or comply with any of that stuff because it's all corruption, it's all evil, right? So I wanted to test the things that I had been teaching. I knew that in my mind and my heart that these things were true and correct, but I had never had a chance to follow through with them all the way and test them all the way. And this was my opportunity. And I believe me, I was ready to come out to everybody and say, you know what, this thing I've been teaching since 2019 don't work worth a crap. Don't do it. It don't work. But it does work. Okay? And I'm not sure if the case got dismissed by the DA or if the judge, dropped by the DA or if the judge dismissed it. I'm not sure which, because the last day of court where this was done, I was deprived even my right to be in that courtroom. So I guess they didn't want to, they wanted to save face a little by not having me there, and so they just did it behind closed doors. I haven't even had a chance to look into it, so I'm not exactly sure what happened, dismissed or dropped. If the judge dismissed it, I want to say that maybe he does have some kind of a heart, because he saw how long I was in there. I was in there for well over 200 days. I would say almost 240 days at least, right? And so for him just to finally dismiss this thing is something he should have done months and months earlier. At least after 90 days, he should have dismissed it. Took him 5 days too late. But if he did that at this point, I want to say thank you and I forgive you. Okay? And hopefully he learned from it. The real evil person in all this was the public defender. Not even the DA, because the DA is doing what they're supposed to do, what they're trained to do, right? But when your own public defender does not have your best interests in heart, that's a shame. So for her, yeah, do I forgive her for what she's done to me? Yeah, but I'm not. But I pray that she's not forgiven for the things she's done to my neighbors. Because if she's treating me like this, I can imagine how many of my neighbors she's railroaded. So with all that said, no charges, no criminal record. I've got a squeaky clean criminal record. I've now beat the system twice. Okay. Another was on another time. I was found guilty, spent time in jail, appealed the decision and got it overturned. So what I'm talking about, folks, works. It really, really works. Hit me up. We'll pick up some communication, probably email or something. I will explain. I will teach you, but you got to take an interest. I'm not going to throw pearls before swine, okay? You've got to take an interest. You've got to be vetted. I've got to know you're true. I've got to know you're sincere. And I will teach you what I know. Now, who will this? I will not teach this to. I will not teach this to somebody who's caused another individual harm, injury, or loss. This isn't for thieves. This isn't for murderers, things like that. This is for people who have violated a made-up law, fake law, or legislation which doesn't harm anyone else in the world. Somebody, for instance, driving without a license, right? Maybe somebody bought a gun from a friend or something, and he's a felon, he's not supposed to have it. Or maybe somebody's prosecuted for having a gun, something like that. If you have caused no individual in this world harm, injury, or loss, I will teach you. Now, you might be saying, well, I don't want to go to jail for 8 months. I'd rather just take the guilty plea. And believe me, a lot of people were telling me that. I mean, I met hundreds, I'll say hundreds of men, maybe close to 1,000. And many of them, when they found out what I was doing, would say, well, I would just take the guilty plea and get out of here. Because I was offered time served after a month. After 1 month, I could have gotten out of jail. Time served. It was the lowest level misdemeanor anybody could get. If you're found guilty of this misdemeanor trial, you get like 10 days. Okay? If you don't go to trial, you're going to probably spend a month and a half waiting for your court date, and then they're going to come up to you and say, hey, okay, we'll give you time served. You can get out today. I wasn't about to take time served. I have too much integrity, too many morals. Wasn't about to do this. I wasn't about to do it for my children, right? Wasn't about to do this for my ex-wife. She would love it. She would love to see me have a criminal record at this point, right? My children, I don't want them to know that their dad has a criminal record. I don't care how low it might be, how minor it might appear to some people, right? But I'm not going to allow that. So I spent 8 months of my life in a cage to have a clean record, right? And to test this system, and it worked. And I didn't know if I was going to be there for a year or 2 years or 5 years. I had already made up my mind that I don't care if I'm in there for 5 years, I will never plead guilty. I will never give in to this system. And luckily it was 8 months, and I got out almost exactly to the day, 8 months later, and everything dropped. So yeah, this isn't something I want to share with anybody. It's called caused harm, injury, or loss. But if you haven't, and you've just been railroaded by a corrupt system that's just trying to make money off of people, let me know. I'll be glad to help you out. This is really good for somebody who's facing a lot of time, like 10 years. In fact, there was people that in jail that were facing 10 years in prison. And I taught them this. Now, I didn't get to go to court with them. Many times when you're in a facility, people get transferred out. I was transferred out on 2 or 3 occasions. Other people were transferred out from me. So you don't get to follow somebody the whole time and keep up with their situation and see what's going on. But I did teach this. That's one of the good things that came about this, is this got taught to probably at least 1,000 men. my time in there, and I opened up so many eyes. And a lot of people would say, "Oh, you're a sovereign citizen." No, that's not what I am. I am not a sovereign citizen. Now, sovereign citizens are right. Like, they get accused of cherry picking Supreme Court decisions. I mean, you can't cherry pick a Supreme Court decision. It's either Supreme Court's decision or not, right? But the Supreme Court backs up what sovereign citizens are doing, and I support them, right? But I am not one, because a sovereign citizen works within the legal system. I don't work within the legal system. My claim is that I'm outside of the legal system altogether. As a flesh and blood man created in the image of the Creator, I am not part of a legal system created by the persons of men, right? I hope that makes sense to you. But if you want me to keep teaching on this, let me know. I really consider myself the foremost expert now in this movement, because I have actually done it, tested it, tried it to be true. You don't believe me? Look it up. Look up my record. I'll tell you what, if you want to reach out to me, I will give you the case numbers. I'll give you the information you need to check this out and find out for yourself. I'm not hiding anything. God bless.